Hello again, folks. Skull1Fro back here again to do another video. And of course, since we are nearing the end of July, we will be in August soon, and that will mean one thing and one thing only: the auto assembly is drawing very, very, very close, and I'm not in the mood to wear green t-shirts. That's why I just thought I'd just dress in something that is Transformers related that you probably see me wear at least a dozen times. So, yeah, not doing one of the videos that I said I was planning on doing. That I'm probably going to save probably until next week, just so we can kind of really see July out and then roll into August, because that video I want to specifically do as soon as auto assembly is drawing very near. So this particular video is not related to that. This particular video, on the other hand, is another response video, because these are fun to do. And because at the moment, response videos really seem to be the more common thrown around thing nowadays, and that's good, because discussional videos are always fun to get involved in. And this, of course, is regarding a video that Ray, Mr. I Love Mess, I know he doesn't like to be called I Love Mess because of various different reasons, so I'll just call him Ray. Ray did a video a little while ago, and I'm probably a little bit late to the party on this, but he did a video called what was it? 5 Transformers that you wish you hadn't bought, but you bought anyway. And that's kind of weird for me, actually, because since I'm really not a collector anymore, and since I'm more interested in character over toys, and I remember because last year me and Ray had a little argumentative discussion about my preferences over character and his preferences over toys, and that's fine. That's fine, honestly. That's all well and good. It's better to have your own different opinion regarding certain things that you enjoy. But for me personally, if the character is interesting and is worth getting into, and if there's something complex about that character, and there's something about that character that has made him or her very popular, then there's more reason to buy that toy. Or if the toy looks very, very nice. And there have been many occasions where I have been let down at least more than once regarding the toys that I have bought in recent years. And normally I'm very picky about the figures that I buy nowadays, because like I said, I always prefer character over toy, and I want to make sure that that character has a great toy to really give it that sort of weight and progressive look to it that it really should deserve. And with these 5 that I got sitting right here on the desk, these particular 5 are figures that I really have bought without really, with just the whole idea of, in that I like the characters a lot, but the toys, the toys of how they're represented and in their looks just really seem a little bit disappointing. I think that they could have been a lot better. So, with that in mind, I have 5, because I really only just have 5 Transformers. If I haven't already sold or probably got rid of the ones that I didn't like or wanted to make some money off of them, then I don't have them anymore. But nevertheless, these 5 that I have right here are these 5 Transformers right here are the 5 figures that I don't like, and I wish I didn't bought, and I'm beginning to regret buying them now because of just how good they could have been, and how in recent years there have been better figures of these characters that make a much more better representation. So let's get started, shall we? So number 5 is one that I reviewed quite a while ago, which I've given this figure a lot of chances, and I said that I liked it, but now, looking at it now, it really just feels a little bit chunky in terms of its problem at the back, and that would be, of course, Revenge of the Fallen Brawn, or Movieverse Brawn, because he's in the Movieverse. Now, the Movieverse figures, of course, I will say, have been a bit of a hit and miss. A lot of people like them, a lot of people don't like them. I'm very, when it comes to movie figures, and since I'm not really the big contender for the films, it's a bit difficult for me to really decide which figures are great and which ones are not so great. And this is one that I think could have been fantastic, but I think really is just ruined for just having this unnecessary amount of kibble and such bad balance. Now, the character of Brawn I really do like a lot. Brawn, if anyone knows from G1, is a short character that packs a really strong wallop, so he's a very strong character that you often see paired up with Huffer in G1. So it was nice to see this character come back after all these years with a new toy looking really, really badass. And when I got a hold of the figure, I was quite pleased by it, actually. And then as the years went by, my opinion on this figure kind of really changed a little bit, and looking back on it now, I can understand why a lot of people feel indifferent about this figure, and why I think a lot of people don't like it. To me, it's just one of those failed examples of what you get when you take a great character and you get a bad toy. And the reason is, just the design of the toy is fantastic. I love the look of it. It's a very stonking, short character of Brawn, and it looks really nice in how it's represented. The colors on the figure are really nice. The brown with the gold and the green are really nice colors. The one problem that I've got with it, though, is just that there's so much kibble on this toy, and because this toy turns into a Nest pickup truck carrier. Oh, no, a pickup truck carrier. Basically a Nest truck, basically that carries around troops of soldiers. The reason for the kibble is you want to make sure that this kibble has a purpose to make the alt mode, and that the alt mode, of course, can fit whatever you're going to fit into that alt mode. And it does its job, I suppose. Though the alt mode is really good, but the robot mode, without the kibble, looks fine. But with the kibble, though, it just feels just way too baggy. I think is a much more bigger problem, because again, it just suffers from having too much kibble, and I think it really doesn't need all this kibble. And another thing as well is, when transforming this figure, I have had so many times where the legs come off quite by accident. So the joints on this are not very well held together properly enough, and the balance on this figure isn't actually very good either, mostly because of the kibble, and the kibble offers a lot of weight on the back to really just send this guy falling backwards. So yeah, this figure I'm a little bit disappointed by. I really wanted to like this figure a lot. I've given this toy chances after chances, but looking at it now with a different perspective, it just it's one of those failed attempts, I think. The Movieverse, I think, really could be... It has the potential to be a great toy line, but of course, with the 3 previous films and the upcoming 4th film, I think you'll probably expect you'll see some great toys, and you'll see utter wank like this. Number 4, which is, of course, one from the animated line, which I did a review on a little while ago as well, and this one, I love the Optimus Prime that comes in this 2-pack, but this figure, of course, is really not one that I think really deserves any real praise whatsoever. And that is, of course, the Cybertronian, the pre-Earth Megatron from the animated line, with the Optimus, in the Optimus Prime Megatron Battle Damage 2-pack, which comes with the DVD. Now, I got this back in 2008, back when the animated line was just first starting out. And the animated line, I will say, it has got some wonderful toys. All of those toys, well, some of the toys in there are fantastic because of the design and how they're accurate to the show. This figure, though, on the other hand, it just feels a little bit thin. And I think that it really shouldn't be, though, because there is so much in this figure that I think there is to like. In just how, since this mold, this whole mold entirely, is loosely inspired by the 07 Megatron's robot mode. It's got the face to prove it as well, and it does a good job of that. But the one thing that this figure suffers from is just the transformation is a bit too easy, and the gimmick in this is just, there's a gimmick in which its waist can rotate halfway, so you can just move this thing around again and again to really just, you can position the waist to make sure that he can tilt in whichever direction you want him to. But yeah, this robot mode for this figure really isn't all that impressive, and this whole toy really, as a whole, isn't impressive. The alt mode really is fine because it has a very Beetle-like look to it, and it, of course, resembles Megatron's alt mode from the 07 movie, because this whole toy is a loose influence of the 07 Megatron. But really, this toy, for the animated line, it really isn't very good. In fact, I would almost say that the exact opposite of this one, which was released as, I think, as just a standalone figure, is much better than this. I've had a lot of people complain about that one as well, but I haven't got it either. So when it comes to animated Megatron, really, this one is the one that I think really fails, and the one that really does a better job is the Earth mode, the Earth mode Megatron, in which, of course, he turns into a helicopter. That's the better one, I think, which I probably will look for at this year's Auto Assembly, just because I love the character of Megatron animated. It's a really cool character. So yeah, this toy is not very good. I wouldn't recommend the 2-pack at all, but the Prime in this 2-pack is really good. But the Megatron, though, on the other hand, is terrible. Let's see. Number 3, of course, is I think this is 07 movie Elita 1, which I've actually went ahead and called Arcee for the Classics line, giving it that really daft umbrella title that it is. Which, of course, this figure is a recoloring of Energon Arcee. Now, I don't know, I mean, the main reason I got this figure was because to sort of complete the 86 character collection that I have, and since we have never, over the years, we have seen countless attempts to try and bring Arcee to toy form, and it has failed at every given turn. The 2 figures I can think of which really managed to stand out very well in that, although they're not the Arcee that we really hope for, are the Botcon Arcee, which was the recoloring of Transmetal 2 Black Arachnia, and there was the one that was released in the animated line. And with this, the Energon Arcee wasn't a very good figure, and here's a lot of reasons why. In that this crossbow, which I think is supposed to be a crossbow, really has no place in being with this figure at all, because keeping in mind, I'm not sure if you can see clearly enough, I haven't reviewed this figure yet at all, but I probably will get around to it at some point. The toy's wrists, the toy's hands, are basically ball-jointed pieces of plastic lumped into the arms, which, of course, if you were to turn them around, can use as exhaust fumes for the motorcycle mode. And there's nothing special about the hands at all, and the hands really don't hold any weapons whatsoever. The only place you can actually hold the crossbow, with a rocket shooting crossbow, I think, is in the holes in these 2 arms, which just really makes the figure just look like she's holding a really big crossbow, and it just looks really, really bad. So yeah, this is a toy that I think really could have been. Well, it could have been much better if it was a larger toy, and it's really not, though, because this toy is actually very small for Arcee, or Elita 1, depending on what name you want to call this thing, and it just looks too tiny. And plus, as well, this figure has a case of big thigh syndrome, because this toy, of course, has very big thighs. I don't care personally about that, though, but that's just one thing I just thought I brought it up. And not only that, though, as well, the colours are fine. I like the colours, but it's just the toy, of course. I regret buying this, though, because it's clear that Arcee is one of those toys that has failed for so many reasons. It's because Transformers, over the years, and anyone will already know this already, is that Transformers, of course, started out as being a toy that was specifically aimed for boys, and is a toy line that to this day still continues to be marketed towards boys, even though you do get, thankfully, you do get, of course, the female demographic, of course, who like Transformers a lot and who like the characters and have some attachment to them. And Arcee being one of those characters that I think really has gained some attachment over the years. But this figure, really, I think is just a fair representation of Arcee. And really, the only reason I got this figure really was because to really put her up against next to this, the Classics Asian, the Asian exclusive Springer, which really, in size differential, looks fine because she's shorter than this figure, and you can just do that, which, yeah, so this figure really isn't all that good. And of course, since we're talking about Springer, at number 2, we are now on to Classics Asian exclusive Springer. And this is a figure that I regret buying now, even more so than when I first bought it, because I wasn't aware that a few years later that there will be a much better version of Springer for the upcoming 30th anniversary Classics line, and that figure almost hails in comparison to this, because Springer, as you all know, is a character that, of course, has a very Han Solo-like character to him, a very Han Solo feel to his character. And by having him basically be a recoloring and a retooling of the already existing toy Tomahawk, which I love the original Tomahawk toy. The Tomahawk figure is really fantastic. It has a very chicken leggy look to it. So by taking this toy and giving him the sort of chicken leg look syndrome, which really doesn't suit the character one bit. And I've seen this figure, I've seen a lot of people who have this figure kind of really do every good attempt to try and make this figure give it a third mode. In that I've seen a lot of custom-made versions of this toy where you can make the third mode by just moving a couple of pieces around. And this one, which is fine, I guess. It's one of the main reasons why you should keep a hold of this toy. But really, this figure just doesn't feel right, though. I mean, it doesn't feel right for Springer. The colors are fine, and the head sculpt is really, really good. I haven't got around to reviewing this figure yet. But it just doesn't look right for Springer. In fact, Tomahawk's mold just doesn't work very well for this character one bit. I think it could have been... If you were going to bring Springer back, wait until that figure came out, then there would be more reason for you to get it, because... Okay, think about this for a second. If you bought this figure, and you, this is a good figure, and then you took it home, and then you took it out of the packaging, and then it was that's fine. And this is really one of those figures that I haven't really looked at or played with in a while, because when I took it out of the box, I had to faff around with it and fiddle with it and just made it work and all this stuff. And, and it was fun to really mess around with. Tomahawk's toy is a fantastic toy to look at in both modes, and it's a fun toy to mess around with. Only with Springer, on the other hand, you don't really get that sense, in that it's a character that has a love connection with Arcee, kind of, and it has a very roguish Han Solo personality to him, and you want to make sure that he's given a much more stronger body to back that personality up. And with this, it doesn't do its job. So this figure really, I think, it's a good figure, but it doesn't work for Springer though, and I regret buying it now. So, and Springer is on the list of one of the figures that I might try and get for this year at Auto Assembly, because just to compare where that figure succeeds, where this figure just kind of miserably fails, I think. So, yeah. In the Asian exclusive line, the one figure that I really liked a lot was Cliff Jumper. And that's it. Nothing really else I can say about the Generations Asian exclusive line. Probably, maybe we'll see better figures if we see any more exclusive Asian Classics figures. I don't know. Maybe. We don't know. So, yeah, Generation Springer, not very good. And finally, at number 1, which I probably already said was probably one of my worst figures that I bought at last year's Auto Assembly, and that would be Titanium Megatron. I'm doing another Megatron figure this time. Yeah, the Titanium line is a line that has a huge, huge hit and miss. I really can't think of any figures in that line that I really wanted to go ahead and say, I'll buy that one because it looks really cool. And you saw this the review of me. Yeah, you saw my review of this figure and how much I really didn't like it and how much I was disappointed by it. And you know what? It's fine that I'm disappointed by it, and it's fine that anyone else is disappointed by it, because the alt mode is too long for a tank, the robot mode is just flat and really dull, the posability on this figure is really limited, and it just seems really, really just gangly, I think. It's a gangly looking toy, and the whole positioned limbs just really don't seem to stay very well in place. And that's not a good sign on a figure. And with the Titanium line, you think that they'd turn out some good toys, and this being one of them. And Megatron, being a huge, memorable icon from G1, should have a much better toy than this. And you give him this, basically? You give him this really awful piece of crap? Yeah, it's not a very good figure. I don't like this figure at all. The Titanium line, I think, really could have benefited a great deal from having a few bad figures. But really, when that line is the majority of so much crap that really it's impossible for anyone to really get excited about, then it's not worth really putting a lot of time and money in making these things, there isn't. What else can I say about this figure? Well, the main reason why I keep it is because, as a collector, as a fan of something, you are entitled, you should be allowed to buy at least one bad toy that you are not proud of whatsoever, but keep it around just to show, look, this is a bad toy, don't buy it, it's crap. Because this is one of those times, I think. And the one thing as well that I really like about this, the one thing that I think really saves this figure is just the stand, which the stand really doesn't seem right for this figure. In fact, hang on, if you wanted to, you can probably chuck this figure away, and instead, because this looks so much better actually, use the stand for War for Cybertron Megatron actually. It looks much better, I think. This toy, I think, is much better in how you do a Cybertronian mode to Megatron. It's a much better look to him, and it really just gives that little detailed look to him, and it does that so well. The detail, the colours, everything about this figure is fantastic, and the stand from this piece of crap makes up for that. So, yeah, the stand is really good. The toy that comes with it is not. So, yeah, if you have the figure, and you probably threw the figure away, and you kept the stand, and if you have a Megatron, put it on this stand. It looks so much better, I think. So really that kind of brings this to an end, I think. So really, what can I say about these figures? Don't buy them, they're crap. I regret buying them now because they are crap. And if you're going to auto assembly this year, you want to, these are the figures that I am warning you now that you should not buy because of the reasons that I just said. And with that being said though, with auto assembly drawing very close, this has been my response to Ray. I'm going to say his username because I know he doesn't like it. Auto assembly is drawing very close. I'm getting really excited. I should really start wearing green to get into the mood. Next week, I promise to make that video that I said I was going to do, just to really bring auto assembly to its eventual meeting point where we can all get together and have fun. So anyway, though, this has been the 5 Transformers that I bought that I regret and I shouldn't have bought. Response, and I'm Scott 140. Auto assembly is drawing very close, people. I'll see you all there.